Hello, everyone. We're getting ready for tonight's show. I had a good little presentation made up and then went for updates and found some new information. So, anyway, we're going to have a show tonight about the court systems. And as always, before we get started, a little housekeeping is that everyone respect the mods. We're in subscribers only mode, which simply means that if you're not a subscriber, just subscribe and you'll be able to participate in chat after 1 minute delay, and then you just have your fun. But when you do come into chat as a subscriber, you have to respect each other. No names, no initials of persons of interest or suspects. If you have information such as that, turn that over to the law enforcement. We will be discussing certain persons, such as Allen. Then, of course, anyone else that has been mentioned, any type of search warrants or affidavits, we can talk about them. But with that being said, we'll get started here. Yeah, as always, we do a little brief bio to start the show with. This is Mrs. Steve, and I'm Steve. I'm retired law enforcement, had 20 years of service. I worked in all areas, started off my career in the jail, worked road, and then into investigations. Over my career, was trained in all different areas from SWAT all the way into becoming a state certified crime scene tech, which helped my investigative career. During my career, I investigated everything from thefts, burglaries, up to homicides. Then I retired, and after retiring, found this the true crime in the web sleuth arena, and decided that I could come into here and try to be an ambassador for law enforcement, and so I could share certain information of how law enforcement operates and thought processes, and so that everyone together, working together, can have a great impact. And so that's what brings us to tonight. Of course, we know Richard Allen was charged with 2 counts of murder, and we're getting ready to start the process of trying to get certain documents that have been sealed by the courts open. And that has been a great debate. I mean, you can go out there, it's mainstream media across the country. YouTubers are having a field day with it. Everyone wants to know what's happening, and it is extremely interesting. You have people that say it's common. You have people that say it's uncommon. I didn't see this as being common, but certain jurisdictions. Uh-oh.
There I go again.
All right.
That's the Google machine.
Google machine got us.
Perfect.
All right. We're back in business. But anyway, as we progress through to it, and like I said, I had a presentation talking about the charges and certain areas and aspects of what might be aggravating factors that would possibly make this case a death penalty case, which in my opinion it is. And we'll be going over that. But like I said, in last minute notice, when I pulled up, I got to see this that was in there as breaking news, order of recusal for the judge of Carroll County. And I had a presentation, and at the end of this presentation, or towards the end of it, you'll see where the judge had requested from the state judicial system that they were going to need some help on this, what he accurately described as a storm. And there will be a storm. This is one of the highest profile cases that we'll probably see this decade, if not longer. I mean, we're talking about a brutal murder of 2 innocent children by a psychopath. And everyone in the country will be watching this case, and they're going to be seeing how it goes through the court systems. And we have certain things that are very odd about this court and about these charges that is uncommon. And so from day one, this is where we're at. We've been waiting for this day for an arrest to be made. And we thought that once the arrest was made, everything is going to start running smoothly. And then it gets here. the documents are sealed, which they'll get unsealed. And there's going to be, people are talking about whether there's constitutional issues, and they are. But the judicial system will correct this. It will be corrected. And it's not like this killer is just going to walk out and be done with it and be forgiven. That's not going to happen. There's going to be certain processes, certain hearings, and everything will fall in line. So I don't want people to panic and start doing all this, that this is the worst case scenario. While it's odd and it's strange, I have to admit, it never occurred to me when I was up in Indiana. Teresa, super stick. Thank you for that.
So much.
Appreciate that support. And but when I was up there, and we Purdue was riding us and taking us and giving us tours and helping us on during our stay, we discussed some of the judicial system, and she was talking about certain judges that she had spoken with, and I said I didn't understand because Georgia has a different system. And now I realize that they do, but I have to admire the judge. And when we get into what he said and what he was requesting from the board and the higher judicial Supreme Court judicial system and whatever the oversight that handles the court system there, that he was needing help. I have to admire a man that knows his limitations. And what we got? Michelle, thank you.
Thank you so much.
$5 super sticker. Appreciate that. You have to admire a man that will step forward and say, for whatever reason, he recused himself. And there's going to be a lot made of that. What does that mean? Who signed the warrants? Who sealed the paperwork? Who unsealed it? And so, like I said, let's just not jump to conclusions. It's all going to work out. We've got the psychopath in jail, and glitches happen in courts. You see it all the time. But like I said, this was a little bit surprising. I had mentioned in a previous show of when I first heard about the judge asking for help and assistance, because that's something that from the judges I know and the judges I worked with in my career, there's no more. The most powerful person within each county is not just one judge, but it's the whole judicial circuit. When you're a judge, the powers that you have within that county are extreme, and everyone looks up to you and everyone respects you. You have law enforcement at your beck and call, and they'll do anything to do that is necessary to protect the court, and always have. And that's going to be up here. The same's going to happen here. It's just, it was something that I wasn't expecting. So we'll see where it goes. But I found out that if this is the way this case is going to proceed, we're in for quite the show. And it's going to be some things that you couldn't write this stuff. I'm excited to see where we go with it. Like I said, I don't understand the Indiana processes, but I'm extremely excited to see it. But I'm overjoyed that we have this psychopath in jail. So I'm going to give a break on everything else right now, as much as I can, due to the fact I'm so happy that we do have this offender off the street. Don't know how many other maybe possible co-offenders, but we'll be talking about that after the presentation. But the docket, when you look it up on the my cases in Indiana, you'll see that Allen's charged with murder, and it has specific underlying criminal offenses, and that some of these aggravating factors that are associated with murder can qualify you. And this is the way it is in the state of Georgia. I'm assuming it's the same in Indiana because they are very similar in statute, the way they're written, and that you have to have one plus another to qualify for some of the death penalty stuff. And that's what we're going to discuss tonight, see if we can't clarify it a little bit so everyone will have equal footing and understand it a little bit. But in Indiana, one of the other things was a statute of limitation for most felonies 5 years. Murder is not one of them. That's the same. I'm pretty sure almost all across the country that there's no statute of limitation for murder. Anytime the offense occurs, it's open forever. And so there's no statute of limitations on that charge. And then we get to that if the defendant, once he starts the trial process, and he can file for a motion for an early trial. And if it's filed from the Indiana criminal procedure rule, is 70 days of the date of the request, which would probably be a nightmare, not only for the prosecution, but it would be a nightmare for the defense also. So I don't see that's happening, although stranger things have happened. But most people don't want that speedy trial. And even if it is requested, there's still the possibility of delays and things. So I don't see it happening, but I just wanted to put it in there. And it says that rule also contemplates that a criminal trial be held within 6 months of an arrest. And defendants can request delays so their attorneys can examine evidence and mount a defense. So they can be delays even if they request early trial. So don't think that if they request it, that 70 days from now, if it don't go to trial, he walks. That's not going to be the case, but the courts will work it through and everything will work out. But there'll be people arguing all different kinds of things in the coming days. But since he's charged with murder, they're going to have to look at to secure this conviction. And there's certain things, and they have to prove 4 elements beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant, and that's going to be Richard Allen, is the defendant, that he killed, and he killed each specific victim knowingly and intentionally. And I think in the manner of death, which we don't currently know what the manner of death is. And but when we do find out, and if it meets what the rumors are, of course, that is something that the manner, knowing and intentional, that if you stab someone or you shoot someone, which we don't really know what manner of death is. It's been rumored more of some type of edged weapon. So if you cut and injures people with edged weapons, you, of course, if you don't render aid, then you're there for one reason, and that's for the death of a victim. But they will have to link the defendant, Mr. I'm going to say Mr. He don't deserve that title. But I will, Richard Allen, they will have to link him as the defendant, and that he is the killer, and that he did it to each specific victim knowingly and intentionally. And this is where we get into that when you look at the charge of murder, and they had it there highlighted, and -2, that when you go in there, it's 42-1-12 subsection, which means that you kill another human being while committing or attempting to commit, and it can be any of these crimes, just one of them. It doesn't have to be all of them, but it can also be a mixture. And I've seen this quite often in Georgia, and I'm sure it will be the same in Indiana, that some of these that, you can rule out that Libby and Abbott weren't murdered during an arson or a burglary. We may be able, they may bring up that it is possibly linked to some type of molestation. We know it's not consumer product. Criminal deviant conduct, that might be something if they have. We don't know what was at the crime scene. And they're going to hit him with everything they can prove from that crime scene. So if they have this other information of what happened at the crime scene, where the bodies were found, they have supporting evidence. They have aggravating factors that can be added into the murder, and which will qualify him for the death penalty. But the one that I have no doubt that they will be able to make stick, and it's no end, I've seen it, and that's going to be the kidnapping. We have 2 young innocent victims that were murdered, and prior to the murder, they were kidnapped. And people are going to argue what kidnapping is. And it's simply that when you tell someone or you force someone or you make someone move 1 foot, and I've heard DAs make that argument that you make them move 1 inch, 1 foot in any direction, you have taken over their natural movements and you are forcing them to do something. And I've seen it argued. We have a totally different one that here in this case that we're talking about 2 girls that we have a video, and that video is going to be so important of the kidnapping charge for the fact that when the FBI mentions it, and it doesn't matter when they mention it, and we can argue that there's numerous times of the unknown. When did he exactly say down the hill? And which hill was he talking about? Doesn't matter. We have it on audio. It's in that video, and we know we have kidnapping. That's going to be due to the heroism of what Libby did that day, of capturing that moment and being able to memorialize it for us and for the jury and for the courts that they were kidnapped is huge. So we have to look at that, and that's going to be something that the DA, without this video, he would not have that because he could you wouldn't know at what point he forced them, across the creek, or he forced them down the hill, because we've got it on there down the hill. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So we have that. The other charges, such as the rape, robbery, human trafficking, promotion, all these other stuff, we don't really know if they have proof of that, but we do know they have proof of the kidnapping. So that's going to make it so much easier for the prosecution, and extremely hard that the defense is going to have to prove it, or they're going to be mitigating circumstances that if they can't get out of, and they can't prove or there's a different person other than Allen on that bridge, which that's going to be what their defense is going to have to be, is that that's not Allen. That's not Richard Allen. He's not the one that did that. He's not the one that kidnapped them. He's not the one that killed them. That's going to be their defenses. And they'll bring in, and if they can't break that chain of evidence and secure that it's not him, they're going to have to bring in some mitigating circumstances trying to keep him out of, I don't know in Indiana if it's injection or electric chair up there. I have no idea. Or if it's one of those states where
Makes no difference.
it makes no difference. As long as he gets what's coming to him. And there's going to be a lot of argument about which way should it go. I'm not here to say that one is right and one's wrong. Just my personal opinion of, am I a supporter of? Yes, but everyone has their own opinion, and there's something to be weighed for each side. Some people say it's more suffering to be sitting in there staring at a concrete block. I don't know. But anyway, the kidnapping charge, I looked that up so that we would have an understanding of what the kidnapping was. And it says a person who knowingly or intentionally removes another person by fraud, enticement, force, or threat of force from one place to another commits kidnapping. And it's that simple, that if I move you from one place to another place, that's kidnapping. And if I do it by threat of force or enticement, and that can be a lot of different ways, because we have him. And if that video shows some type of weapon in his hand at some point during that video, which I believe it will, and I believe that's how come we only have that real small section, because I believe he did present a weapon. And so the kidnapping, I'm hoping, is going to be extremely easy to link into with the murder charge and get this man his just deserves. That whatever he did is absolutely unfathomable. It's unimaginable that you would do that to 2 children for any type of reason. And so there's no defense of why he did. So hopefully they'll get what he deserves coming to him. But we're getting back to what the judge, in one of the news briefings, there were some clips in there about that. This is the Benjamin A. Diener, the judge that was of Carroll County, that was going to be hearing this and be hearing some of the motions. And he contacted the judicial system and says that he needed help. And I admire that because he says, my court reporter is hired Friday, began Monday, answers the phones, no experience, no knowledge. And they have a court administrator that has experience, but they have other duties. And so this judge knows that what's coming is not what he would ever expect. There's going to be some constitutional decisions that have to be made, not only about camera systems, but about everything, about juries, a change of venue. And it's just going to be something that it's going to take an extremely experienced and knowledgeable judge to be that referee, that umpire in court between the representation, and there will be some good representation for Richard Allen. And there will be some good prosecution, hopefully, for Richard Allen. I don't know that much about the DA, and I don't know what resources he'll be able to bring to the table other than himself. I don't know what if he can have special counsel brought in for special prosecutions and how he'll reach out. And I just don't know what the motions in court will be for that. But I look forward to learning a lot about that. But he explains and he says that, hi, Steve, and this is Steve. Love from, I don't know how you say that, but
Adelaide,
Australia.
Australia.
I don't chat much, but I could listen to you all day, Steve. Your channel is fantastic. Thank you. I appreciate your support. And that means a lot to us, really does. But the judge, like I said, I can understand this judge. I can understand any man that comes to me and we talk and they explain to me that what's about to happen is going to take somebody that has a little bit more knowledge than me. I've been there myself. That I get, when I was younger coming up and as you work in law enforcement and you see something that you can't handle, you make that call. And you make that call to someone and they'll show up and they can handle it. And as you progress through your careers, it's just like any job that that you in your life that you have. There's certain things that you're not qualified to do, but you know who to call. And when they show up, they make it look so easy. And that's going to be the same thing that's going to happen in this judicial system with this trial. But as always, if you have any information about this case, use the tip line, call in that information. They're still requesting it. They got it open. They say the investigation is long from over. And I mean, I can clutter up these presentations with 15 to 20 different avenues, but I try to keep them short because I know there's going to be a lot of questions in the next 40 minutes to an hour. And I want to address as many questions as I can, but I just wanted to get everyone prepped for what's about to happen in court and what they're about to see that probably hasn't been seen by a lot of of the people in this country before. And Sloopy, we appreciate all you both do. Thank you, Sloopy. That means a lot to us. Thank you. All right. Got any questions?
Yeah, you got a few.
All right. I appreciate everybody being here. I thank all my mods. I thank all my supporters, my members. We had a couple or three meetings this week with my members in addition to the shows that we do for the subscribers. And we had to go to the subscriber mode for the fact that we were getting trolls in here. And so we want the trolls to wait at least a minute before they start trolling and get kicked out. And so it's just the only way we do. And then when you subscribe, it doesn't cost anything. I had one of my subscribers or someone that sent me a comment that they didn't want to subscribe because it costs too much money. It don't cost anything other than a minute of your time. And then you're open for chat. But we appreciate anyone that can support us in any way. Share it, join, appreciate it. All right.
All right, here we go. Let's see here. We're going to start with single mom of 4. Yes, sir. It warrants the death penalty, in my opinion.
It has that aggravating factor.
Yes, it does. And then Jackie B, I am sure the judge felt quite overwhelmed.
And yes,
I can only imagine.
And you look at the judge. I don't know what type of trial history he has. I don't know if he's ever had to be over a court where there possibly would be a death penalty. and he doesn't want to be, and there may be reasons that he has to recuse himself. I don't know. I hadn't read. It was so late breaking that actually it may be part of the charter or something up there that for a death penalty case to be held, there has to be a special judge appointed that has had that before them. And because not every judge gets or has the ability to handle some of these complex cases. And this is going to be a complex case. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
And Scott Brown, they must have some solid evidence on this guy to charge him. I don't think Doug Carter would do anything to jeopardize a conviction.
I agree. Now, I think that maybe they got pushed a little bit early because they're most of the times when an arrest made, you don't have to seal because the affidavit for probable cause, because everyone involved is arrested, all the evidence there. There's something that is in those papers that is causing this. And I can't wait to see what that is.
And Nadia, he will plead insanity, pretty sure.
Yes, that's pretty well a standard, but they'll have a certain, he'll be, analyzed and diagnosed and interviewed and by both defense and prosecution professionals to decide if he is insane or not.
And Scott Brown, I think his family turned him in possibly.
That is one of the rumors I've heard.
And I'm going to say this, but it pains me. Angus Van Halen, way to go, ISP Task Force, go Vols.
And
painful.
Go Vols.
Painful.
You're tearing her heart out because she's a dog fan.
All right, so Saturday's going to be brutal, y'all. So if I'm not here Saturday night, I'm in deep depression. All right, Purdue RN. He comes from a good family, talking about the judge, obviously.
And that may be, and that may play a great part in it. And I can understand, the pressures that's going to be on him is going to be immense, and on his family is going to be incredible.
All right, and Jackie, I have respect for this judge that he at least admitted he was not able to do it.
And we don't know what the qualifiers were for that. I mean, it may be that that someone said that, you need this. I don't know. But that's going to all come to light. There's going to be a lot of speculation and a lot of people casting doubt and just creating information out there. It may be true or not true about his experience. We don't know, but I admire the man.
And Single Mama 4, I thought asking for help and recusing yourself are two different things.
They are. And he asked for help 3 days ago. And then tonight we saw the recusal in the form that was signed today. So absolutely shocking to me.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let's see here. Good grief, man. Y'all just dropped them all in here for me.
Excellent. Make right, Mrs. Steve earn her keep.
Yeah. Really?
I'm in trouble now. I've overstepped my bounds.
Nah, it's just a bunch. All right, so I'll stop there at 8:26. And Jennifer. Okay. And Molly at Steve, even if it is sealed, is RA and his attorneys allowed to see it?
I would expect so because, they're officers of the court and they can have gag orders placed on them. And the attorneys, at least, and I don't know about what they would do with Richard Allen, but like I said, I really don't know what the process of it is because it's so rare and I've never dealt with it. But I would expect that you would think they would.
We got some really good questions coming up here now. Whoa.
Uh-oh. Get one.
Y'all gonna make him put his thinking caps on today.
And I'll just refer you. I'll go get. I'll recuse myself. You get,
You want me to answer for you?
yeah, I'll recuse myself if I have to.
Okay. All right. And Teresa at Steve, why did Judge recuse himself?
I have no idea currently. I don't know, but as soon as I find out, I'll have a little slide for you, and we'll find it in full detail. And what does that mean to me? But like I said, that was so recent. I just hadn't been able to go in and look at it.
And Sarah, I feel just heartbroken for the wife. Everyone seems to assume that she knew and just didn't say anything. So often in these cases, the wives are the last person to know. And there's also fear and threats.
Absolutely. And that all come to light. And of course, regardless of what comes to light, true or false, either she'll be held accountable if it is true. And even if she didn't know and everything, there always going to be so much thrown at her, and she'll be accused of it regardless. And I hate that for now. If she did participate, of course, she's part of it. But if she didn't, and hopefully that when they find out, that information is released and it's clear and precise and tells us exactly who turned him in, why they turned him in, and clarifies a lot of that information.
And Nadia, do you think he will plead insanity to avoid the death penalty?
No, he won't be able to. I mean, he went after these murders and was able to get a whatever his certification is as a in the drug. What was that? He was
Pharmacy tech.
Pharmacy tech. I don't think a lot of insane people could obtain that accreditation. That's just my opinion.
And Molly at True Crime Web, can you discuss your opinion on the aggravating offense charge for RA? This would be called felony murder in my state. Would it make it easier for a conviction?
Absolutely. You know, if you didn't have that, you could say, you know, if we didn't have that video and that audio, and the video is one thing, but the audio even makes it more clear that you have a man that's in absolute control of his voice. And how many times have I said that in other videos? You have an individual that speaks to these girls. He's not screaming, hollering. He's not chattering. He's not doing things or saying things that are insane. He goes up to these girls and he gives them a simple command and takes them, forces them down the hill, tells them, go down that hill. And they believe him for whatever reason. They go down that hill, and then they wind up murdered. And so you have someone that the jury is going to be able to hear that controlled voice, and it's not the voice of a madman. And so I think it makes it extremely far more easier for a conviction, or that's the way I would look at it, and that's the way I expect the DA to present it.
You got some Bama fans in here. Whoa.
Just because you're a psychopath doesn't mean you're insane. No. Psychopaths are just evil.
Okay.
Or this psychopath is evil.
Yeah, this psychopath, right? Okay. All right, so let's see here. All right, I am just about done. All right, perfect.
You get caught up?
Well, until that popped in there. Okay. And Sloopy, I have never seen a judge say punt. Now you have.
That's funny right there.
Now you have.
That's funny. Yeah. And like I said, you have to admire it. I agree with you. I've never seen that either.
The Rockaways. An assertive defense lawyer is going to step in here and shred through all the mistakes ISP and the court have made. I am terrified this case could crumble.
And I am too, for the fact, like I said, we got to overcome the Klein connection. You got to overcome the Ron Logan search warrant, the connection. You know, and there's so much that the prosecution is going to have to counter, because, like I said, when they bring in that third party evidence, alternative suspect evidence, it can easily sway one juror, and that's all they need. And it's going to be a tough trial. And like I said, we're going to hear some powerful statements made during this trial. And it's going to be hard on the families, all the families. I mean, it's going to absolutely be, heart-wrenching for them to sit there and listen to this.
Purdue RN, I do not think we should comment at all, one way or the other, on the family. We do not know what we do not know.
You are absolutely correct.
Single mama 4, there's very few crimes without statutes of limitations.
Yes, yes. I mean, I think there's like 7 that you have that we used to have a name for what those 7s are. I'll look up what they call those top 7 that they had a special name, and that we looked at from law enforcement, that when they were charged with certain crimes, the likelihood of making bond was extremely low.
And Honeybee, is there 2 Richard Matthew Allens in Indiana? Found one with a Bloomington address with DUIs.
I would be surprised if they weren't more than 2.
Yeah, that's a very common name.
Yeah.
And Molly, speedy trial. They just pulled all of that stuff out of his house on the 13th. Maybe to his benefit to have that evidence not all the way ready to go.
And that, I just brought that up. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but that's just something that when I was looking through the proceedings and possibilities of what a defense attorney could do and what would be their strategy, that is one of the strategies. And but I don't foresee that that would be something that they would do in this case. Maybe, but I hope not.
And Michelle, he's such a narcissist. He will take it all the way, in my opinion.
Yes, yeah. I agree with you.
And Paper Chaser, so thankful for this channel where cool, reasonable, and knowledgeable heads prevail.
Thank you.
And Jackie, I'm almost scared to know the details of what he did to those poor girls.
It will be, and it will be something that a lot of people, it would trigger a lot of people emotionally, and the families, and so we have to see what true evil can do, and we're probably going to see that in the next couple of years.
And Sweet Revenge, you have to feel for his family, especially if they didn't know. Look at BTK. His family didn't have a clue that he was out murdering men, women, and children.
Yes, BTK. I mean, he was a special type of psychopath and predator, and just as evil. And I don't know if, he was just evil. Once you get to this level of what you will do with children, that's a special kind of evil.
And Molly, at Steve, I think the quote kidnapping is a given if they can voice ID guys down the hill. And
that's one of the things I will, whatever it is, to take that voice forensic, audio forensic expert to go in there and do the analysis of his voice versus the voice that's on that audio video that Libby made. It's going to be very revealing. It'll be interesting also in court. Getting behind again.
All right, let's see here. 836 Rose. I don't know what that one's for. I'm searching for one because I had a question about it.
Uh-oh.
But I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
We all get overwhelmed.
All right. The Rockaways, why didn't they also charge him with kidnapping, child exploitation, SA, and other lesser included crimes?
They may, and this is early on. What will be the final totalities of it? They've got charges to hold him, and that's what they do. At some point, they may bring in everything, and sometimes when that initial arrest is made, it's just whatever to get them in jail, being held, and but the other charges may be pending.
All right, the next two go hand in hand. Jackie B, him saying down the hill shows intended to kidnap. Then I've got Kathleen following that up with, I think they were kidnapped down the hill.
We're all on the same page.
We are on the same page. And Michelle, I was thinking maybe they found a latex nitrile glove at the scene and were able to match it to the batch delivered to CVS. His fingerprints would be on the inside.
There's your CSI also, Michelle. She understands that, and I'm sure she has processed those gloves herself, looking for things like that, because that's something that you do find at certain crime scenes.
And Raggedy Susan, can they add more charges later before trial?
It won't be. There will be a before trial date. All charges will be presented to, and the court will know all of the charges that would be for that trial. So they won't be able to come in during the middle of the trial and say, "Oh, we got additional," because they have to charge the jury and they have to advise the court of exactly what charges they are, what discovery is for the defense, so that they'll know what evidence they have that the state's going to be presenting to prove certain charges, and only those charges. And so they're not going to be able to bring in new charges at some point. And like I said, I don't know how it is done in Indiana, but they will. There will be a deadline where this is it. These are all the charges, and this is all the evidence, and so that during discovery, all that would be given over to the defense.
And the Rockaways, does anybody know if they can add and do bring both murder 1 and murder 2 charges in the same case?
I don't. I think that murder is murder, and then you have either it's just you don't have these aggravating factors that can take it to the level that what is the sentencing, because that's really the only difference in different types of murder. Now you can have different levels of murder, but involuntary, or it depends on each state. Everybody has different verbiage, but you can have different levels of murder, but it's the sentencing part of it that is the difference. That you can get life, you can get 20, you can get without parole, and you can get death penalty, and all be charged with murder. It's just what aggravating factors and what does it qualify you as far as the sentencing.
Okay. And Charlene, let him go into general population. They'll take care of him long before the death penalty.
And I saw that with the Parkland shooter in the Florida case just the other day, that the families were talking about that once he was sentenced and they didn't get the death penalty, that they were wishing that the defendant would face those other killers and persons that are being housed in prison with him in general population. And so that is a possibility that may occur to him. Jeffrey Dahmer is a good example of what other prisoners can do to you.
And Jennifer Rochelle, Steve, do you think the modifying over a dozen charges and removing 5 charges points to KK being involved, as I do?
It could, but the one section I read on it is that they didn't have enough evidence to ensure that there would be a conviction or something. I only saw it for a moment as I was flashing through trying to get this presentation, but I'll look more at that on future presentation because at some point it's going to be revealed, is the clients connected or not? And how many coincidences they are, or they not coincidences? But all that's going to come to light.
Okay.
She does good to keep up with all this stuff. I couldn't keep up with it.
No, I don't. All right. And Joan just broke. The judge has recused himself. He will be replaced by a woman judge, Frances Gull, who has 25 years experience.
Yes, I saw that.
And a woman.
Hey,
Let's go, girls.
I don't have any problem with it. Some of the smartest, well, almost all the in my life, my mother was one of the most intelligent women I've ever met in my life, and then I married the second one.
No.
So I have no doubt that this lady judge is more than qualified to handle this.
And we know we don't like to mess with kids, so
Oh no.
All right. And Purdue RN, I prefer he be kept alive in general prison population for eternity.
Yes. Yeah, there's great potential for him.
Yep. All right.
Especially being 5'4", 5'6", 5'7". Yeah, he'll learn quite a bit.
SB 74, the judge is reported to be Judge Cull from Allen County, Fort Wayne, years of experience and former prosecutor.
Excellent.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Mm-hmm.
And Kay McBride, where do you expect to see the change of venue? I'm sure there will be one.
And I don't know how they do it up there. I've seen it both ways in here. I've seen where they brought the defendant to our county and taken a jury from another county and mingle them together for a change of venue for security issues and security reasons. And then I've seen them where we've gone out and for a defendant in our county and brought a jury from another county into ours for a change of venue. And then I've seen them where they just ship the offender across the state to a county, and you as a sheriff's office or a police department or well, in state court, it's always going to be sheriff's office here in Georgia. I don't know how about up there in Indiana, but and the sheriff's office is over security of the courts. And so I don't know what they will do up there, but there's several different possibilities how they can change venue and still keep it in Carroll County and not take it out of the county, because you can bus people in, you can house people. It just depends if there is somewhere that you could place and put up a jury in Carroll County, and how long of a ride would that be? Because the courts want to run a streamlined timeline of court. They don't want to have juries bust. If there's not facilities there, wherever this is going to be held, there's going to be facilities that can take care of a jury if they're sequestered, which I would expect that will be requested to be sequestered. Which I didn't look up for sequester. For people that don't know what sequester is that when you put the jury in a position that they won't be influenced from outside local news on a daily basis, that once they get it, they know whatever the only information they can have about that trial is going to be what they get from the court day in and day out. And when they go to their motel room, they'll be told you can't watch the news. If the news comes on, you have to turn it off. They'll monitor their channels, or they'll take out the TV. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can monitor and keep a juror away from the news without impacting their quality of life. And if they go on the internet, they can't search, they can't have access to any outside influences about information of the trial.
we're not going to do anymore. What I got done.
Okay.
All right. And Honeybee, I think they are wise to recognize they are over their heads.
I agree.
And Molly, I think this was a judge that showed good judgment. That's a good one. When he knows he cannot manage the situation due to size of case versus size of audience, he did absolutely the right thing.
I agree.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And Charlene, if KK made the arrangements to meet those girls, even if he may not have killed them, he can be charged for murder too, correct? Those girls wouldn't have been there if KK hadn't made the arrangements.
And if that is true, we currently don't know if he was a co-conspirator in the death of these girls. And there'll be a lot of arguments that, oh yes, I arranged the meeting, but I didn't know he was going to kill them, or something along those lines. We don't know if that's even the case, but if it is the case, that he did set this up, I agree with you. He should suffer the exact same situation and the sentencing that anyone involved in this that facilitated this murder of these two innocent children absolutely should all of them suffer the same sentence.
This is for Sean. Thank you so much. He says I missed the blue light for him when he joined.
Turn it on again. Yeah, it comes on. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you got the blue light tonight.
So there you go, Sean. Thank you so much for joining a couple days ago. All right. And SD, tips regarding any possible criminal activity that RA was involved with in the past.
And yes, and people will be calling that in, and I'm sure they've got a lot of tips. I think I saw Carter saying they're still getting like 200 tips a day during one of the interviews. And like I said, his past life is going to be under a microscope.
And Purdue RN, people forget this is a very small rural area. Brain drain from area. Intellectual capital is thin.
I hope not. Hope not.
All right. And just average guy. Under the original Code of Justice, if you were caught sitting on another man's horse without his permission, you could anticipate having your neck stretched and choking to death very soon. A lawyer's money?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And Charlene, I live 20 minutes from Delphi, and this has haunted us for years.
And, in Delphi, which it does bring up the argument of if they were going to have at the county seat, is there housing in Delphi? I didn't
Don't
see.
look at me.
I don't know. I mean, is there a place that you could possibly put a jury of, say, 14 by the time that you have your 12 jurors plus alternates? And I don't know how
They got a
Indiana.
hotel, don't they?
I don't know. I didn't see one, but they could have been. We just could have missed it. I don't know. That's interesting.
Could have been in a cornfield, couldn't it?
They got cornfield.
And Rose, what about charges 5 being dropped and 12 changed against Klein?
I found that interesting, but like I said, the one section I saw it was that it had something to do with that they didn't have enough evidence to bring those to a conviction. And like I said, I was just at a glance as I went by, but I'll look at it further and get back with y'all.
And Alexa, I respect the judge's decision, but I never in 16 years working close with DA and LE have I seen this.
Me and Alexa, I love Alexa. And that's absolutely the truth. That's saying it about as plain as you can say it. And it is. It's amazing.
Jackie, I think they have a lot, especially after the river and house searches. I hope they have a lot anyway.
I do too. And it's going, like I said, it's fast. We're already fascinated. You can look at the case and see how fascinating it was pre-arrest. We still, almost 6 years later, had the attention of the whole world on this case because it was so severe and so, out, no one could understand why anyone would do this to children. And it was outrageous. And so the whole world's focused on it, and they're going to be focused on this, that it's going to break all barriers as far as people watching it, especially now that we have the technologies we have.
And Rob Lee, it's definitely best for an experienced judge to oversee this case so there won't be errors, opening the possibility for appeal.
I still think there will be errors, but they'll try to minimize those errors because, the defense is always going to argue that this was prejudicial against their defendant or the offender and who they're representing. And so they're going to make those claims. Regardless if the errors are real or not, the defense is going to claim errors.
And Dustin, do they accept insanity pleas in Indiana? They don't here in Idaho.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. I don't know about Indiana. I have no idea.
And Kathleen, need more time for evidence collected and other possible rabbit holes still being investigated.
I agree. I think that's the reason it's sealed. I think they were pushed to this early arrest and knocked their timetable off just a little bit.
And DGR Dave, Steve, do you think it's going to be a hard case for the prosecution amid all the Klein stuff?
If they can't connect him to the Klein, absolutely. That is going to be an obstacle that will have to be overcome. And then you have to overcome the Ron Logan. That's still, you've got such admissions and accusations that's in that Ron Logan. They tried to indict him in the affidavit for that search warrant. And so they created, I'm sure they didn't realize I'm sure at the time they thought they had the right person. 6 years later, or almost 6 years later, we find out they didn't.
All right, Taylor. He cites the public's, quote, bloodlust for information and YouTube creators making videos about him and his family when he moved Allen to Indiana Department of Corrections.
And he analyzed that correctly. That was an accurate description of what he could see, almost a lynch mob in his county. And that is extremely accurate and perceptive of him.
And Google machine, local news said the judge and his family were being harassed and threatened. And
that's a sad state of affairs. Why would you threaten the very person in the court system that can bring justice to Libby and Abby? What type of nut are you that would do that?
And I have to share this, not related to the case. Corgi Mama, Mrs. Steve, total respect of Georgia Bulldogs, was at the Chick-fil-A kickoff. My poor ducks were pummeled. Thank you.
If you knew how much glee,
I still love you.
Yeah. If you saw how much glee she did while they were being pummeled. Yeah.
All right. And Alexa, the judge probably scared of the YouTube family. Seriously, you can imagine the pressure that judge will have and his family.
Yes. And all will be forgotten in the coming days about him. And rightly so. They shouldn't, the court system, like I say, they're going to adjust and make sure that justice is found fairly. Because we still got a long process of Allen has his constitutional rights, and they should be protected all the way up to the point that when and if he's found guilty, which I believe he will be. And my opinion, that I don't think that we would be in this position if they didn't have the evidence on such a major case to put him here and have a $20 million bond, which I've never heard of, against an individual that makes a modest income. Someone making a modest income is not going to be able to ever make a $20 million bond. That's no bond.
And Sloopy, although I have never seen a judge do it, I respect the decision. Honorable to say this is too much for me.
Yeah, Like I said, I think it's Clint Eastwood. A man should know his limitations, and that's not casting and belittling him. This man recognized it, and he wasn't. He's man enough to say it.
No, better now than later, right?
And that's right.
And Nadia, could he have killed before? A little late to start killing in your 40s.
Killing, we don't know about, but I do have a strong feeling. I believe he has, but I do believe that he has other offenses and major offenses in his history. Will those be revealed or found? I don't know.
All right. And Deborah, Mr. Steve, I was in northern Georgia and got involved watching a triple murder, and some kind of advocates came in on his behalf to keep him from the death penalty. Are they in every state?
Yes. And they ensure, because they have such a disbelief in the fairness of the death penalty. They're well funded. They're well organized, they're well trained, and they will work to try to save these people from the death penalty. And that's something that you'll see in Indiana on this case.
And Molly, going to alcohol drug rehab treatment does not make you mentally ill. Drug alcohol use during before a crime is not insanity. Insanity defenses are extremely difficult to win. No history for him.
Yes. And you have to, like I said, everyone talked to him, said, "Oh, he was so helpful whenever I needed something at CVS." That's not something you would say about an insane person.
Mm. And Mike, LSU all the way. What? But Mike, I guess
they're all over.
I guess I'll ask your question.
They're all over you tonight, baby.
But my question is, what do you think about KK getting 5 charges dropped? In this case, I don't believe in coincidences. See, he doesn't either.
Yeah.
What's y'all's thoughts?
Yeah. It could absolutely be part of a plea deal. Or it could be that it could be something that they went and reevaluated and negotiated out, or they went and looked at it and said, these are the evidence, and if they did so, they shouldn't have never got the probable cause in the first place to charge him. They shouldn't have done that. They should have realized it early. So I can see the argument of that. Oh, they worked out a deal that we're going to drop certain charges. And is that something that happens? Absolutely. That they can negotiate that. Okay, we're not going to send you to jail for 30 offenses. We're going to send you to jail on some smaller offenses. We're going to reduce some of them, and we're going to throw some of them out, and whatever the totality of those are. And I've always said that we're never going to be happy, and I'm not going to be happy with whatever he's sentenced with. Whatever Klein's sentenced for and whatever time he serves will never, ever meet what I would want to happen to him.
In SB 74, I thought Steve was saying Bama fans are psychopaths there for a minute. Ditto. I did too. And Kay, burden of proof is on the prosecution, but my guess is Allen's defense will argue framed.
Yes. I mean, there'll be some version of that. Why did you? And then the prosecution's argument is going to be is that we didn't focus on Allen. He wasn't on our radar. We looked at these other persons and we were we cleared them of it, or we found a link to, because he could still be linked to the Kleins. He could still be linked to knowing and being on the property of Logan. We don't know what those links and connections are. And that may come to pass in the future, that we understand what involvement he had with these others. And so we'll just have to wait till that day.
And Rose, still not sure RA is BG. All his sketches have unruly hair and easily seen as far back as 2016. He's very short. The picture of him in the car was Christmas 2016 at Von Meurs.
I don't know. Um,
Not sure about that.
and that will be something that they will argue. But when we're looking at the sketches, those sketches are of people that were seen somewhere on that trail that day. We don't have a person that says this is the guy and this sketch is of the person standing on the bridge. So is that something that they'll argue? I don't know what it would mean, because the sketches are of people that were seen on the trail. And it's been accredited that he was bridge guy. So there's going to be great argument about that. And I see your point that when you start talking about the hair and stuff, and that's stuff that will be brought up in court.
And Molly, excuse me, Molly, sequestered juries are not happy juries, but they are probably going to have to sequester them to keep them safe, and the case too.
Exactly. If you're having judges threaten, can you imagine that jury? And they'll have security details. It's frowned upon to mess with a jury, and it's frowned upon if you're messing with a jury and have to go in front of that judge. It ain't going to work out any way that you think it's going to.
And Anne, amazing how much we in the public still don't know. Means, motive, opportunity, the three key elements of a prosecution's case.
Yes, we're absolutely in the dark, and which will, I think, within hours or days here, we're going to start getting some of that information.
And Honeybee, why did they not use evidence bags during the search for removed items?
I have heard that, and I hadn't looked at that specific video. I've got to go and watch it. And if they didn't, then of course that's going to be brought in. It was during when it was properly bagged and sealed, or, in the OJ case, they brought up the point that they didn't change gloves. And so if there's video of that, that will be part of the case. And whoever that CSI tech is, he'll have to explain why.
And Lisa, I have a bad feeling he will suicide, even though I know he's on watch.
Who knows? Hopefully not.
Single Mama 4, you know what I think that psychopath will tell what he did in court to these two young ladies like he was earning trophies.
Yes, but that'll all come to haunt him, I believe.
Taylor, that's the aggravating circumstances. Kidnap plus murder equals aggravating.
Absolutely, 100%.
And Sean, Columbo did one of those latex gloves on one of his episodes, and it had the killer's fingerprints.
It is, and it's absolutely true. Not in all cases, because you think it would be on every finger, but sometimes, if you've ever worn latex gloves for a long time, you understand that you may not always get the fingerprint, but within those gloves you have something that is new technology. It's called DNA. You'll have skin, you'll have sweat, you'll have so much that possible that hairs that are inside those gloves, in addition to prints. So those gloves can be a wealth of information.
And Paper Chaser, just realized that we're only assuming they went down the hill when they were told to. Maybe they refused and he shoved at least one of them.
Absolutely. He could have shoved, or he could have threatened, or he just telling them in that cold, calculating voice. And, is that what they're going to try to prove? I believe so. I think the kidnapping is the easiest of the aggravating circumstances of what we know currently, because we don't know what happened at the scene, but we do know what happened prior to the murders on the railroad, and the video of him walking towards him.
And Anne, when the arrestee was reportedly interviewed as part of the initial sweep, I'm wondering what his alibi was. Must have been sufficient at the time.
And we see that with other, I think with Bundy, he was interviewed or passed over early on, and then later it came back to him again. But that happens more times than not. I was talking to Cop Facts earlier today, and we discussed that exact thing.
And KC, I've actually seen that recently a guy was actually innocent, but had been found not guilty of murder, but yes to murder too. Served 9 years until found innocent. Okay.
Yes, juries can be wrong, and it's been proven.
Mm-hmm. And Kimmy, Steve, are you going to look for other unsolved murder cases that may also be connected to Richard Allen in places he has worked or resided?
What did Mrs. Steve has been working on that for hours today? Thank you. Great question. But Mrs. Steve is wore out from doing that earlier.
Yes.
But yes, we're looking at that possibility.
And Purdue, question of who provided his alibi.
That is going to be interesting because of the time of day. Was he supposed to be at work? Was he supposed to be off with friends? Was he supposed to be at a family event? Was there, was there some type of video of him being at a certain location and the timestamp was wrong? I mean, there's so many different ways that people can say that. And law enforcement might, during that initial canvass, overlook and because they have someone else of greater interest that sparks that interest.
And 9 Lives, it's my belief that Keegan Klein is involved with the murders somehow, some way with Richard Allen.
I'm with you. I mean, I looked at those coincidences, and until someone explains to me why he looked up DNA on a body, I'm with you. That's one of the strangest things I've ever seen searched, and never have heard of that.
And Alexa, I also want to know if KK got a plea deal. It kind of smells like it, in my opinion.
And I can see your point. I can't argue against it.
And Herman. Fort Wayne is better prepared to handle the media and police's situation around the trial.
And like I said, it also has to be someplace where they would have housing if they do bring in and sequester a jury.
And Charlene, so maybe they asked him to come to the Lafayette Post for questioning. It's located right down the highway from the bridge.
Oh.
Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Kimmy, in my opinion, psychopaths don't work well in groups of any type.
You're true, but they will try to, and a lot of people, the people working with this individual, Richard, they didn't know what he was. He'd worked alongside of them for many, many years. And did any of them suspect him at some point? May have, because they may have got to see glimpses of his personality that we don't know. Some of these people are, they're able to control their emotions, but even when they say that they're in absolute control, there's certain times you might see little glimpses of what their true behavior is, from being angered or somebody coming in that just hits them the wrong way. And you see that little glimpse of what extremes they can go to. You could see that with BTK. I don't know if they saw that with this individual, Allen.
And Molly, put up 14 to 18 jurors, feed them in the hotel, put up all the LE to watch, assist, help them, transport them, keep them safe. That's a lot for a county that small.
And they'll have some other state resources also. But yes, it is extremely. It's not easy.
And Alexa, maybe they will try to bring this to Indianapolis.
Wouldn't surprise me. I don't know, but they'll have to find somebody that doesn't know about this case.
And Ann, good luck on that. Ann, I think the linchpin of proving this case is tying the accused to the crime scene. Opportunity element that could have several circumstantial layers of evidence.
Yes. And yeah, I mean, that's absolutely possible.
And I think we've already talked about this, about the stuff being taken away, but no evidence bags or something. So that's what you got to look up, right?
Well, no, I've got to see and watch that video, and I had heard it mentioned that they just took a shoebox and some clothing and walked out. And I don't know if they had gloves on or not, but it's on video out there. Or the rumor is, hopefully, the shoebox and the clothing belonged to the officer and was not evidence in the case. Hopefully, that was his lunch.
Yeah. All right. And Sean, if KK lured the girl to the trail, and even if he didn't know the guy was going to kill them, he would still be held for manslaughter.
That'll be up. Yes. I mean, they're going to look at, analyze it. At what part did he play? What did he know? When did he know it? And,
yeah, O'Brien, thank you so much for your membership.
Yes, appreciate it. We appreciate all our members. And
we sure do. Oh, got another one, Don Burke.
What about the cigarette butts found? DNA. It depends on where the cigarette butts were and whose DNA. If it's part of the walking trail, and let's say that Rich Allen has a history of going to that trail and walking that trail, and they find cigarettes at the intersections. That's one thing. They find cigarette butts on the bridge at the end where the abduction of Libby and Abby occurred, and he's known to walk the bridge. And even if he's known to walk and on the private drive and walks home down the private drive, those are arguments that the prosecution will have to overcome. That this is what normal behavior he did. Yeah, he went to the trail. He smoked cigarettes. He flipped them to the side. But if those cigarettes are found at the crime scene, that's different. And of where the bodies are located, that's absolutely a different because you don't smoke cigarettes, and we don't know if there was cigarette butts at the location. Law enforcement does. We don't know where those cigarette butts were recovered. And if there is DNA on them, even if there's DNA and it's and they have that cigarette butt and it's not weathered, they'll still bring it in that we have a cigarette butt that was there within hours. Is it circumstantial evidence? Absolutely. But it doesn't prove that he is the one that was there. It proves that he was in the area, but it may not prove that he was at the murder scene. And so the prosecution and the defense will argue those points.
All right. So we're going to do a few more. You all right? We're doing a few more.
Sure.
You got to go anywhere?
No, I ain't got anywhere to go.
All right. And Kelly, do you think the fact that Ron Logan was never cleared will hurt the case against Allen?
If they can't link him to that there's some type of relationship and that Logan, that Allen, I mean, like I said, that's third-party evidence, and that will be brought up, and it will be something that the prosecution has to overcome.
And Violet, if somebody else was actually using the other shots account, could that be why KK is having some charges dropped? Can be proven it wasn't him as the user.
Very perceptive and very possible.
Okay. And Cop Facts, your chat asked good questions.
Cop Facts. Like I said, we spoke for almost 2 hours today. I appreciate your time, sir. As always, it was we covered a lot of material, and we covered a lot of this material we're talking about tonight. And I always like bouncing ideas.
And Molly at True Crime Web, there's a recording of Ellie there that night saying a cigarette butt was found in the creek.
Yeah, and how many people smoked, and what type of cigarette was it, and was DNA recovered? We don't know.
Mm-hmm. All right, and Purdue RN, dark web involved, KK involved, RA will be linked to dark web as well, in my opinion.
Very possible. Who knows right now?
And Freckled Joy, I worked at a rehab. People came to rehab to hide all the time, either from the law or a drug dealer they have ripped off. There you go.
Yeah, it happens. And, you know, and sometimes rehab is something that if you talk to attorney or sometime, if you have some type of uh, alcohol issue or some type of DUI or something, that they may say, go ahead and have some type of treatment or rehab. Don't know if that's the case. Have no idea about that. I know it's part of the rumors, and and Lord knows we have enough rumors about this one, so we'll find out.
No kidding. And Teresita, psychopaths exist in all jobs, careers. Your surgeon might be one. Ooh, doesn't mean he'll kill you. He'll probably just have a lousy bedside manner.
And I can tell you about doctors,
You
and
sure can.
I can offer.
You don't even want to get him started on that.
Well, Purdue RN would probably back me up on this. Those doctors are extremely well educated, well trained, and they have to be. Hey, lies from persons of interest will complicate the prosecution. Yes, absolutely. But doctors deal with and their critical thinking skills and how they analyze pressure is absolutely fascinating to me. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was a large part of doctors that are psychopaths, not so much psychopaths, but that the way they evaluate fear or handle pressure is extremely impressive. And they have to be, because they hold your life in their hands minute, second by second. And so it's impressive sitting there in the ERs and watching these doctors deal with patient after patient from multiple injuries and where there may be multiple casualties.
And cow go down the trail. Okay. No reports of electronics seized from the Allen home. Would that indicate no connection to the Kleins?
I love the name. But yes, no, I don't know. We don't know what the affidavit shows in the search warrant. We don't have the return of the search warrant, which is odd. I was hoping that when we had the search warrant at the Logan residence and we had the search warrant at the Klein, that we would get the returns of those search warrants, which tells you that we went to these residences and this is what we recovered. It's another process, but we never did have that information released to us. I was hoping to see that, because that'd tell me exactly what was at each location. And we don't know on this Allen case currently.
And Jennifer Rochelle says she found a pretty good news clip. So if you can email that to Steve at truecrimeweb.com.
Appreciate it.
All right. And we are done for the night.
Well, guys, I appreciate everything you've done for me and participating in chat. We have some really great people out there. And appreciate
pretty dang smart too.
Yes. And but we thank you, and we'll be working on some more stuff. She's still working on looking at some of the Evansdale stuff. We had some information sent to us that we have to look at, not saying it's connected at all, but we're just having to look at it, because until we rule one way or the other, we don't know what law enforcement has. And if we develop a tip, we'll be calling it in. Right now, we don't have any more connection than anything other than.
Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Don Burke, if there is a picture with the brand he smoked and the same cigarette was found at crime scene, would that help? Yes.
Yeah, anything that links him to it. But, you know, there's only so many brands of cigarettes out there, and a lot of people smoke the same brand. So it would have to have that DNA profile with it that would really seal the deal.
Thank you for the donation, Dawn.
Yes, thank you. But anyway, guys, we're going to get out here. I'm going to go see if Christian's on, and I'm going to watch her show for a few minutes if she is.
All right. 2 things added to Cyclops. Oh, here we go. Miss Dog Lover. Current case in the UK of a nurse accused of killing tiny babies in her care. Scary. Oh, my goodness. That's awful. Thank you so much for your donation. Y'all are fabulous. Love you.
Thank you. And y'all have a great night. And we'll be getting back with you in a couple of days. And I think our next show is Saturday. So We'll see you Saturday night. Y'all take care and be careful out there. And don't forget to send me any information, steve@truecrimeweb.com. And it's been great. Appreciate all y'all's support. And y'all have a great night.